Well, welcome to our first podcast. I'm Jay Thomas. You know me from the Jay Thomas Show, 970 WDAY Radio, AM 1100 The Flag, and also 1090 The Flag out in western North Dakota, Tioga. And this over here is my son, Ty, and we've been talking, kicking it back and forth for a while now to do a podcast. And when I brought it up to the powers to be here at Flag Family Media, they said, yeah, why don't you two knuckleheads go in there and do a podcast? So I guess this is our first. We don't have a name for it yet. Yeah. I like just another damn podcast with Jay and Ty, but we'll see what happens. And what do we do, Ty? We're going to talk about, every podcast, some could be 15 minutes long. One may be an hour. It could be two. It just depends on what we get into.
Yeah, I kind of figured it would be best just to not even worry about it. You know what I mean? It's something we've been talking about for quite some time, probably a couple of years.
Yeah.
We've been talking about wanting to do something like this. So it's, it's nice to finally get the chance to do so. You know what I mean? And then when the opportunity presents itself, and you don't want to sit and think about it too hard and too long because you jump right into it. Otherwise, you're going to talk yourself out of it.
Well, exactly, and a name will pop at some point. We'll go, oh, why didn't we even think of that? So
yeah.
So this first one, I guess, really, we could be talking politics, we could be talking home improvement, we could be talking cars. It just could be talking fitness and lifestyle. It just depends on where the mood takes us. But we thought, hey, just something different, having a father and son, two big difference in generations. Ty's in his early 30s. I'm almost 60 years old, so there's about just under a 30-year gap there. So it's kind of interesting, our different views on life. Although we pretty much agree on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, when it comes to politics, law and order, which way we lean, stuff like that. Concerns are the same. Although for somebody your age, Ty, you're 33, right, or 32?
33.
I should know I'm your dad. So I don't want to get real heavy into politics on this first one. I like people to know a little bit more about myself and more about you. But for someone your age, what is the big concern with what's going on, whether it's in the United States or the country? What I don't say keeps you up at night, because I'm not that kind of person. Maybe the younger generation is. There really isn't something that keeps me up at night where I'm like, I can't sleep because I'm so worried about this. I'm going to say I don't worry about what's going on, but I don't lose sleep over it.
Right.
So what would be on top of your list? Couple of things.
There's quite a few things, and I guess the big kind of overarching thing for myself, I would say, is this is going to come out heavy right away here.
Okay.
But,
well, that's what it's about, man.
I'm not super excited with how this term has gone so far.
With
Trump,
with President Trump.
Yeah. And not to get into politics right out of the gate here, but I'm a Trump supporter. That's who I voted for, and there was a lot of very, very good things that he was talking about doing, and to be honest with you, there's a lot of things that have been missed, and then it's as those things keep coming, it's kind of it's not just one thing in particular, but the big one at the moment is the war with Iran. You know what I mean? I have my own viewpoints on whether or not we should be involved in that, and whether or not that's even our war to be fighting. And now I know we're always going to go down the the nuclear weapon path and all that stuff, but I'm very frustrated about that because how many times were we told no new wars? And
do you consider it though? Because when I look at it from my perspective, and I understand because I remember when this all started, the whole hostage crisis, this new regime got in there, and because prior to that, Iran was like a beautiful place to go, and the regime came in there and just ruined lives. They're murdering tens of thousands of people. It's disgusting what they're doing. Something has to be done. There's a couple issues that I have, and we'll see if these are your issues. My first issue is I don't think we're ever going to change that mindset. You can get this regime out and put a new regime in, okay, but what's going to happen? Is that regime going to go rogue and go bad, or are they just going to go back to, look what happened when that disaster pullout in Afghanistan and the Taliban. Look what they did. They just went right back in there, 20 years there, and the people's lives they're not any better because the Taliban is ruling with an iron fist. It's the same thing. what happens in Iran again if you get this new regime. I don't think it's a war right now. I do think it's a conflict that we're trying to resolve, but we are amassing a lot of troops over there. Mm-hmm. Now they could say no boots on the ground. Yeah, there's no boots on the ground in Iran, but there's boots on the ground over there.
Yeah.
At what point? And then what do you do, Ty? Do you know, what's the end game here? If you can't get regime change, we went in there and did what?
Well, that's pretty much the problem. None of us have any idea. Like, this is all, I feel like, to the majority of people, even if you are right-leaning conservative, a lot of us were surprised that this happened, right? I mean, to me, it's a big, big deal. And there is no, compared to, when, what operation was it where we take out the nuclear centers in Iran, right?
Yeah.
There was a game plan, and now
you don't think there's a game plan?
Well, I'm not saying I don't think. We just don't know.
We don't know.
And that's a big part of the problem. And I get it. I get the other side of that too, right? I mean, if Trump is doing something, or he's holding his cards close to his chest or whatever, that I understand.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help the feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right now,
how
because
people
it's
are
like,
feeling.
But I do think about that a lot. You know what I mean? As I'm going to say, I'm disappointed in the situation. I cannot say that Trump has let me down a lot.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know
like
you mean, yeah.
So it's like
you don't have to agree with everything he does.
No, I don't lately. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I disagree with, but that's the one thing that I'm holding on to is like the possibility that there's a much bigger picture, and he or whoever the powers that be can't tell us. But my actual confidence is dwindling like quickly. You know what I mean? And it's just every day that goes by where there's new events, and it seems like we take one step forward and then
a couple steps back,
10 steps back. So it's
I get what you're saying. I've voted for Trump all 3 times. Mm-hmm. I'm a Trump guy. I said years ago, I remember saying this on my radio show way before the infamous walk down the escalator at Trump Tower back in 2015, long time ago. And people would give me so much shit for this. And I'm like, I'm telling you, America is a business and it needs to be run like a business. Mm-hmm. And I boasted for Trump years before even ran. I said, you want to get a guy in that White House that plays no games? Trump's your guy. Mm-hmm. And everybody would call and tell me I'm nuts. Well, look at now. When it comes to this, I know this is a catchphrase or whatever that's maybe some people feel it's being overplayed, but I don't. And I firmly believe that Trump is playing chess when everybody else is playing checkers. I know that's overused, but when you look at the outcome of things, yeah, we don't know everything, which I think is a good thing to a point, because in the past, whether it was President Obama, if it was Clinton, whoever it was, I would get so pissed because they would get, or their administrative or whoever would get in front of cameras and tell the enemy what we're doing. Hey, by the way, at this time, we're coming in to bomb you. Trump isn't doing that. And I think it's something that we're not used to, so we're feeling like we're being left in the dark, or there's no end game, when I hope there's an end game, and I think there is. I just think that this guy is so far advanced in when it comes to stuff like this, because he's dealt with these countries most of his adult professional life, business dealings, everything else. And I just think that the guy can see that, okay, if I make this move here, this is what China's going to do. But if I do it this, I think there is. But I'm with you, and you get a little frustrated. It's like, and I think that comes back, Ty, and you served our country, your brother serves our country. I think we're just real war leery, and we should be. Yeah. Because, again, we were warned about Afghanistan. It's going to be like Russia. You're going to be in there for 20-plus years. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's not going to happen. We're going to get in, get out. That's not what happened. Yeah. But I don't think, at least I pray and I hope that's not the situation here. But it would, we're told that the end game is new regime. How are you going to get that?
I got a question for you then. So you're saying it's not quite a war yet?
Yeah.
Which that's a tough statement, I guess. I agree and disagree at the same time. So for you then, at what point in time does it become a war to you? Is it a frame of time? Is it boots on the ground? Is it a certain number of casualties? Or like, what does that actually look like to you to where you would say, okay, this is a war. I want to know what the hell the plan is. What is?
If I would say if our troops are boots on the ground in their combat fighting, then it's a war. But you got to understand, it's weird because I come from a generation of that's what war was.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
It was Desert Storm, all that. It was boots on the ground, get in there. Where I understand today, and maybe that's why you kind of look at it different, because I don't think we're ever going to fight wars the way we used to, where you don't need a bunch of boots on the ground anymore. You've got the technology, whether it's drones or this crazy equipment that they're using. What was that, the discombobulator that they used in Venezuela? I mean, that's right out of science fiction. Okay,
yeah, so stuff like that, though, too. The stuff that happened in Venezuela was crazy. It's very, very impressive.
Yeah.
So then that's what I'm saying is what happened with Iran very shortly after, it made no sense. Like, everything with Venezuela seemed incredibly calculated. Mm-hmm. There was a plan. There was a reason why it was done. And then you have Iran. You know what I mean? So I think, and here's the other thing, too, is, and maybe it is just a matter of me getting older, so then you start to pay more and more attention to politics. Now, I've been into politics for quite a while now, but I mean, I'll make the prediction that this next election cycle, there's going to be more voters than ever before.
I don't disagree with that at all, and I don't know what's going to happen with the midterms. I don't know what's going to happen there.
But I wonder if that's why it seems like there's so many people maybe against the situation, is just because there's more people getting involved in general, but maybe not, I guess. I do want to say as well with the the whole thing with the regime change. I mean, this is it's an old playbook, right? I mean, we've tried to do this before, and it leads to nothing. I mean, the only way that that's going to happen is if the people of Iran handle that situation themselves, and I don't know what that takes. I don't know what kind of intervention or what kind of support they would need,
But that's the problem. The people of Iran, I mean, they've been suppressed for their entire lives. They don't know how to, because I've heard that too. People, well, we just got to give them a bunch of weapons and let them fight. These people have been suppressed. They don't know how to use a weapon. They ain't going to know what to do, and they're going to go up against this Revolutionary Guard or whatever. They'll annihilate them. Yeah. They don't have a chance. But I'm all for fighting. Hey, you got to fight your battles. I don't have a problem helping. But at the end of the day, there's another catchphrase I can't stand. But at the end, it has got to, okay, was it worth the lives lost? Was it worth the money spent? Did we do anything? You're right. I mean, there hasn't been peace. I mean, these groups, Hezbollah, ISIS, I mean, this stuff, you'll take one out, another one's going to come back. It's just you have these people that are so radicalized. If you get a new regime in there, that regime has got to be strong, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, they've got to be really, really strong. And then, are we going in to rebuild then Iran? Mm-hmm. It's just a lot. I'll go back to Venezuela. The difference between, I think, Iran and Venezuela was just the size of the country. Yeah. That's why I think we were able to go in there precisely and get Maduro, get him out of there, which rightfully should have been done years ago. And again, Venezuela is a small country, and it's after that's happened, it seems like everything there is good. But Iran, you're dealing with a much larger country. Now you're dealing with oil assets. You've got other Middle Eastern countries that are on board with us. What I find absolutely I shouldn't be surprised. We ask NATO nations for help. Hey, this is what we're doing. We got to get this regime out of here. They cannot have a nuclear weapon because they will use it. Mm-hmm. They could even dirty bomb us. They get it in a suitcase, get it over to the United States, and God forbid what happens. It doesn't. I think when people think nuclear weapons, they're thinking back to a big Russian rocket. That's not it anymore. Yeah. But again, Venezuela, I think it was just the size of the country. That's how we were able to get in and get out. And I'm hoping, Iran keeps playing games too. They were trying to stop ships. They weren't letting ships go through when they weren't supposed to be doing that in the Strait. And then we had to open fire on one of their ships that was breaking the rules. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where this goes. I know Trump has stopped a lot of wars.
Yeah.
And I just got to believe that, I hope I'm right. I mean, if he ran for president again, I'd vote for him. I got to believe taking on Iran, he knew what he was getting into.
I hope so.
We all do.
Like I said, I the way you're explaining it, the chess and checkers, like that is the only hope that I have at the moment, like from my perspective.
Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, because to me, it's a bunch of nonsense. I don't think that it's our war. I think it's between them and ultimately somebody else, and we're getting drug into it. And I think there's people, what I'm concerned about is that, again, there's people in Trump's cabinet that were in his ear and influenced him. And I hope that he's, a lot smarter than that. You know what I mean? And as far as I'm concerned, he's done a lot to prove that. But it just seems, it seems very unbelievable, I guess. But to the original question, I guess, ultimately, and this is not just myself, I think it's a lot of people within my generation, my age group, and younger, America first is what's happening. And this is not it. So this is why people are really upset right now.
Okay, so let me ask you about that because America first. I'm 100% in my generation. We grew up. America was number one. That's the way it was. We looked out for ourselves. Grew up. We got the 250th celebration coming up this summer. I remember the summer of 1976. I was 10 years old, and the 200th birthday celebration for America. I remember I was in Cub Scouts. I marched in a parade. I remember all of it. And it brought America together, and America was first. Everybody's flying their flags. It was fantastic. Then it all just kind of dwindled away. But now you're saying with your generation, is there that feeling that America comes first? Because if you look at the news or social media, social media is just it's the swamp of the earth. I mean, there's good that comes with it, but there's so much garbage on there, and people are headline readers. So if you start getting sucked down these rabbit holes, a lot of people think that, people of maybe not so much your generation, but the next one down are just anti-America. But you're saying, look, that's just not the case. No,
I think there's a lot of nonsense being peddled on more mainstream stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And if you start paying a lot closer, there's a lot of people out there that are just going to immediately kind of write this off after you tell them that I listen to way more independent journalists than I do mainstream media.
Okay.
I mean, that's where this comes from. So it's like there's probably a disconnect between what a said group of people thinks America first means and what I think America first means.
What do you think America first means?
It's legitimately America first. Why are we sending billions and billions of dollars to countries who already have free healthcare, lower homelessness, no drug issues, like higher life expectancies, all of this? We're sending them billions of dollars. And we're fighting wars on their behalf as well. We're paying for their military. We're providing them with military support. When look at all the problems that we have here in America.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
So like that's what it is. And then it's like, well, there's always a way you can spin it, right? So now if we're talking about the war in Iran, how are you America first if you're against that war, knowing that like they could have a nuclear weapon and just wipe us off the map?
That's right.
Like that's the excuse, right?
Yeah.
But that wasn't the reason that we were told that we attacked Iran. You know what I mean? When this happened just weeks ago, months ago.
Well, we were because they were back to enriching uranium. We didn't get it all.
We were told by Marco Rubio we had to attack, otherwise Israel was going to attack them. So we did it preemptively, and that was his words right after it happened. So that's
See, and that's my bad because I don't remember him saying that.
Yeah,
so if that's what he said. I'm not doubting you. I'm just saying.
Nobody knows because it doesn't get shown. You know what I mean? So like that's part of the problem. But point being,
why do you think the mainstream media won't? Because the mainstream media, let's be honest, they freaking hate Trump. Trump could come out and cure cancer, and they're going to rip him apart. They hate him. They hate his guts, and I honestly believe they hate him because from day one. He said, "I'm done with fake journalism," and he's been after him ever since. And they hold a grudge. But why do you think they're not?
Well, it's not all mainstream, right? I mean,
when I say mainstream, I'm talking about the networks.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about, or the newspapers. I can go and name them, and I don't need to because you people know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But you really got to dig to find information or journalism that isn't tainted one way or the other, leaning for the right or leaning for the left. And there's that. What's that? I'm blanking it out. That site. No bullshit. Just the news.
Yeah.
That thing is fantastic because they specifically. I don't know if you follow it or not.
I do. Yeah. Yep.
It's great because you know exactly what you're getting. They've got equal amount of people that are Democrats reporters, Republican reporters, and they get in a room and they say, okay, we're not leading it this way. Just get in there and dig it. It's hard to find that stuff.
Yeah, and well, that goes back to the point too where I'm talking about independent journalism. So, and I'm making an assumption here, but I do think people of your generation, they have not really dove into independent media.
No, you're right.
You know what I mean? So they're all stuck on
Fox News, Newsmax,
CNN,
ABC,
MSNBC, and then all those mainstream news outlets are peddling the information that all these independent journalists are insane in other minds. Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, all of them. They're out of their minds. They're lunatics. They're conspiracy theorists.
Because they're afraid of these people.
100%. They have huge, massive followings. And unfortunately, all of these people helped Trump get elected. And I'm sure you saw what just happened last week with the tweets he put out, calling all of them out, telling them they're all insane.
Yep.
Just ridiculous.
There's times
claims,
when he tweets, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing, man?
Oh yeah,
it's like, dude, just go lay down for a little bit, man. I mean, some of them are great, but there's some where you go, man. It's not that I'm offended. It's just like, oh, dude, why are you stirring this pot up? We got more important things to concentrate on than you stirring this pot. But you're right. I think my generation, there's a lot though that are my age probably watching this podcast. They go, hey, wait a minute, guys, that's a bunch of BS because I dig. We're not saying none of you do that are my age.
Right.
But most people don't have time. They're busy. They're raising families. They got jobs, a lot of them multiple jobs. They got stuff. They don't have time to sit down and just start digging through the interweb and finding these people. And then if you do, okay, how do I know this person's legitimate? It's tough. So,
yeah, you're always going to have to.
But I'm with you on that. I don't think a whole lot. I mean, I don't. The only reason, if I ever do, because my radio show isn't really heavy politics, but sometimes you got to talk. So then you got to do some digging. I'll tell you, two of my news sites, I told you, no bullshit, just the news is a good one. I love Alpha News out of the cities. Liz Collins and Alpha News, they're fantastic. And you brought up, we're talking about how these independents are scared to live in daylights out of the big networks. I believe, honestly, Ty, the big networks, whether it's a Fox News or CNN or ABC or any of these, their problem is money. Because they got to be careful. If they're going to tick off, the drug companies or tick off this company, they're going to lose hundreds of millions of dollars in advertising. Where these independent journalists, they don't have to worry about that.
That's why they're scared.
They're terrified of that. And I got to tell you right now, here's a prime example. Terrified. Look what they're trying to pass, and it's moved forward in California. The Nick Shirley Act. Yep. Are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, it's insane.
California. So now you're going to try to put a law that says a journalist can't go out and undercover fraud? You should be applauding this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I just saw some on that last night and today, and just seeing like what the bill is called even, and it's
the Nick. What is it? The Nick Shirley.
Yeah, and the way they explain it is you're not allowed to pursue, and anyone out there correct me if I'm wrong if I'm explaining this poorly, but you can't pursue information on specifically like immigrant owned businesses and stuff, and I don't know, it's crazy, but I think.
But look what this kid did. This kid, and he's a kid. I mean, I know he's a grown adult, but he's a kid in my eyes. I mean, look what he freaking exposed.
Yeah.
And again, people should be applauding this guy for what he did. But no, instead they're going to try to punish him and make laws so people like Nick and others can't do
how backwards
the job.
Is that? It's insane.
What's that?
It's so backwards. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense.
And if you listen to his backstory, I was listening to him on the Sean Ryan show, and he had Nick on Matt. I mean, this kid started doing this when he was 15 years old.
Yeah, it's
him
insane.
And his mom.
It's impressive.
It's something else.
Yeah, and I think you know, I'm curious to see what happens with the next election cycle. I mean, midterms, whatever, I guess. But, you know, obviously your party lines are going to stay, you know, left and right.
Yeah.
But I'm curious if there's going to be a massive divide between the folks who watch mainstream media and those who don't. You know what I mean? I think because they're hearing two completely different narratives. I mean, almost 100% different, and that's within party lines too. You know, because I am conservative.
Yeah.
You know, and I disagree with a lot of stuff that's happening right now. But I'm not afraid to say it because I cannot stand, you know, what would you call it? Just like always Trump.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what you lose all credibility. And I'm not saying that there's things you would be right about, but it's like if you're someone who like we can't even have a conversation about it. I want it's you know what are we doing?
Yeah,
why
exactly.
Are we talking about it?
Well, it's simple because I'm not going to change your mind. You're not going to change my mind.
Right.
What's it going to end up in fisticuffs? Because we don't live in the world. See, you're too young to remember this, but you know it used to be where if the Democrats or Republicans, they wouldn't see eye to eye, but they'd get stuff accomplished because it was like they were actually somewhat looking out for the people they represent. Now it's like if you're on the other side, I can't even talk to you. You can't be my friend. It's there's no civilness anymore in politics. It's just, and that's why on the radio show, I've gotten as far away from it. And in the afternoon, I just try to, keep it local. Sometimes you have some national stuff, but just get on a local level because I think people just need a break from that.
100%. Yeah.
It's just bananas. But I think when it comes to the elections, going back to what you said, independent journalists and stuff, I think, I think this election, and kind of like with Trump too, his last win, is you have, even though we're saying that like people my age, they don't necessarily go out digging for those independents. They don't have time. But what people are doing, no matter what age it is they're starting to follow a lot of these podcasts.
Yeah.
You got Joe Rogan, you got Sean Ryan. All Sean Ryan's more of, military, dark, deep. I mean, I love his, but you've got so many, both on the left and the right. And just the fact that you have that, I think that gets more people out to the polls.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because they've got more options to listen to get their information, whether the information is true or not, because some of these podcasts are just over the top. But back to the narrative thing too, like you're saying, Ty, it's weird because I'm not like, all I watch is Fox News.
Yeah.
I'll watch some Fox News and then I'll go over to like CNN or MS Now because I want to see what their spin is. And I have people, because I'll have buddies that come over and I'll be in the garage flipping back. What the hell do you got that on for? It's like, because I got to see what the other side is saying. Because if you see what both sides, I think you're more schooled and more in tune as to what's really going on. Man, completely different from one side to the other.
Yeah, and I think if you're someone who's truly passionate about politics and that you just described them, you gotta think about doing that because it's like if that is you, like your TV never comes off Fox News or your TV never comes off CNN, that's a problem. Like you are not being told. You're not being told everything, like or whatever. You know what I mean?
But that's and because you were up there with me. That's like Grandma Bedman, your grandma, my mom. That TV never leaves MS or CNN. It's one or the other, and it's constantly on. And I have a rule with my mother because my mom cannot stand Donald Trump. And my mom is a diehard Democrat, but the old school Democrat, the old blue dog Democrat. She's actually, I think, starting to come around a little bit, not like in Trump, but understanding some things. But the rule is, I'll tell her because I go up there every year, help her out, and I tell her, we are not talking politics.
Yeah.
We are not talking politics. Do not turn on any of them news channels when I'm there because she'll flip it on and then she'll just kind of wait and get her digging on me. And I just look at her and say, Ma, I love you, but we ain't talking about this because you know where this is going to go. Nowhere.
Yeah.
So just turn something else on or let's go outside and do something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real problem. I'm in the same boat just as far as like independent media too, because like I I listen to as much as he really, really pisses me off sometimes. Not sometimes, a lot, but I watch Bill Maher's show. Not his talk show, but Club Random when he's got guests on and stuff. So I try to get some of those in as well. And then there's podcasts that I've been listening to for a long time, and I dropped them because they're right leaning conservative podcasts, and
it was just too much.
There's some things they're saying now that I disagree, and it's not a matter of like if I think they're wrong, it's just what they're saying I disagree with.
Well, Bill Maher, I've probably seen his show. I didn't even watch his show because I don't have HBO, but I see clips.
Yeah,
I'll see clips on the interweb, and I mean, this guy is turning around. I mean,
yeah. I respect him. That's why I listen to him. Some of the things that he's done, I respect. But
when you lose Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith, who
he's the other one. So Stephen A. is the other one. Yeah,
I like Stephen A. because he just tells it like it is, and he will. And he's a Dem, and he's proud of it. But he's sick and tired of the road that party is taking America down, and I love it.
Same.
But I used to be though like your grandmother, man. It used to be Fox News, nothing else.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I can't do this because I don't know. Yeah. I'm not that I'm getting brainwashed. I'm not somebody who gets brainwashed. I can think for myself. But you start, if you're just listening or watching that, you're not getting the views of the other side, which I disagree with almost everything. But I want to hear what they're saying.
Yeah.
Just like, wait a minute. They just said this on this channel, and you're saying this on the same story. Well, wait a minute. That doesn't sound feasible. Or wait a minute, it doesn't sound feasible.
Yeah.
So I'm with you.
Yeah,
I've got to look at multiple things.
Yeah, and you have to know, again, not to beat a dead horse, but the mainstream media, they work for people. Like
that's right.
They work for somebody. Somebody is paying for their salaries, right? Whereas again, independent journalists. Now that's
look what happened to Tucker.
Yeah,
drug company said he's out.
Yeah, and this is not to say that it doesn't happen with independent journalists either, because it certainly can. And I think that is like a slow takeover of people, and you can literally watch it happen because they'll change their viewpoints on stuff, and they'll shift positions, and then just out of nowhere.
But when they're shifting positions, are you going, okay, I understand why you shifted your position? Or are you going, oh, wait a minute, that's BS,
no,
man?
like sometimes it depends on the scenario. That's situational based, right? But if they're shifting their position towards mainstream media, like exactly saying all the same stuff that's happening there, that's when you kind of know that it's happened. And again, I'm not saying mainstream media doesn't get things right or everything they say is incorrect or something. That's not my point. It's just, there's certain topics right now that are just glaring obvious, and we could talk about those some other time, I guess. But it's, it's pretty obvious when it happens. But yeah, it's the difference between mainstream media and independent journalism. I would, for one, if all you're watching is mainstream media, look into some podcasts or just have an open mind about it. You'll probably be shocked by some of the stuff you learn, or if you're free to disagree with all of it too. It doesn't really matter. It's just. I like going out in the hot tub at night, and I used to listen to music out there. Now I listen to podcasts. I turn on the podcast and listen to the podcast, and it's amazing. It's amazing the stuff. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and there's a lot of crap out there. I mean, just absolute over the top. Like, what in the hell are you talking about? Garbage. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad we didn't get heavy into politics on the first podcast there, buddy. Jeez, Lou, man, what the hell? All right, man. Anything else before we wrap her up?
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't. There wasn't really much of a plan today. I was just kind of get into whatever.
We just sit in here, and like you said, you and I have been kicking this around for a couple of years, and the opportunity came. So we'll see where it goes. And like I said, it could be 15 minutes one day. It could be 2 hours long. We may have a guest in here once in a while. Just we don't know. Next week we may be talking about home improvement project. Just depends on where the mood takes us. So
yeah.
With that, I guess I got nothing else. I'm good. Are you good?
Yeah, no, I think that's good.
We need a name.
For now. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Yeah. Email me some names. We need a name. We'll figure it out. All right. Hey, thank you for watching the podcast. Tell your friends about Flag Plus. It's real easy. It's $100 a year to subscribe, only $10 a month. With that, you get a bunch of other podcasts. And also, every once in a while when speakers come to town, you get special discounts on tickets, VIP access, and all kinds of cool stuff. All right. Ty, thanks, brother.
Yep. Yeah,
See,
appreciate it.
Dad, no fisticuffs, man. This is how politics should. Although you and I are kind of on the same page, but I just wish you would get back to civility again. You know, instead of just you're on this side, you're on this side. I hate you. There's just that's the way it is now, and that's people losing friendships and families. That should never. I always say this. You're giving up a friendship or a family member over a politician or politics. Why would you do that?
Right.
These people ain't giving up anything for you.
Yeah.
Hell, they shut the government down. They won't even give up their pay while everybody else loses pay. So yeah, don't lose friendships over this stuff. I mean, hammer it out, have a good discussion, and then at the end of the discussion, have a beer, whatever it is you drink, and keep that friendship and that family member. All right, thanks, buddy. We'll talk next